What is something that is way less dangerous than people think it is? The Bermuda Triangle, particularly with modern navigation equipment. Strangers, most of the violent crimes you hear happen between acquaintances. Edited a butchering of the word. Flying. Swimming after eating. I used to fully believe I would drown in seconds if I didn't wait a full hour before getting back in the water. Trick or treating on Halloween. Kids are not getting poisoned by candy from strangers. People who have no few friends. Most of the time they're either weird, shy, socially awkward, quiet, or simply just prefer to be alone. Leaving your foot hanging out of the bed covers. In terms of how much we thought it would affect us, probably quicksand. MSG. Sharks. What's something you find annoying that shouldn't be? Hearing strangers breathe. People in the kitchen when I'm cooking. Do you know how it feels like when you're sitting in a bus and you just want to listen and enjoy to music, but there is someone sitting next to you who tries to chat with you? That's annoying as fuck. People liking things that they bullied me for liking before them. People are allowed to change their mind and mature, but it pisses me off. What do people take way too seriously? Themselves. Celebrities. People get competitive over who has the most injuries, got the least sleep, has the worst mental condition, etc., etc. It's actually crazy how much people want to be in the worst condition possible. Social media validation. Trying to write the majority of the answers to this question. Looking at you. You suck or live one. Does being married count? My friend wants us to help find our single friend a husband. Our single friend is doing fine and doesn't talk about wanting to be married. Fake outrage. Specifically, the people who were told by their TV to be outraged get way too serious and way too outraged. What other people think of them? Everything. Relax, people. This too shall pass. What are the cons of not having kids? Cannot form military alliances. You aren't constantly distracted, so the existential dread creeps in. Lol. You don't have the same perception of time. When I run into a friend and his kids have aged 10 years, you realize how old you are. When you're someone who doesn't have kids because of infertility and health reasons, people feel like they can interview you about your private medical information. Edited to odd. I literally wrote this and went to bed. Thank you, everybody, for engaging in so much conversation. What is the craziest conspiracy theory that you secretly believe in? Ireland began deliberately entering bad songs into the Eurovision Song Contest in the 90s. After winning it consecutively for a few years, it began getting too expensive to host, so they sabotaged their chances of winning it. I believe RS Credit is actually a data farming operation that is being used to feed AI algorithms in order to produce more effective propaganda, social control mechanisms, etc. But what do I know? Build-A-Bear came out with a bunch of new toys that were all the same shade of yellow right after their Minion launch severely underperformed. They had stockpiled yellow fabric in anticipation of the Minion toys selling well and getting a big production run, and had to find a way to use it all. What's the most 80s song ever made? Don't You Forget About Me, Simple Minds. It's Take On Me. Tears for Fears. Everybody wants to rule the world. Girls just want to have fun. Careless Whisper. I swear the saxophone is the most 80s instrument ever. The Safety Dance Men Without Hats. I Ran Flock of Seagulls. You Spin Me Round Like a Record. Eurythmics Sweet Dreams. In the no lyrics category, I'd like to nominate Axel F. No, so fun fact, hearing your brother playing it on the piano 200 times almost drove me to madness. Danger Zone. Kenny Loggins. It's the Final Countdown. Here I Go Again by Whitesnake. What's something that offends both the far left and far right? If we remember the 2000s, nothing brought people together like the Westboro Baptist Church picketing the funerals of soldiers. Corporate gay pandering during Pride Month, but for wildly different reasons. ADs on YouTube. Lawmakers trading stocks. Velma apparently. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. The idea that most of the day-to-day problems and issues we deal with are the same, and the culture war is really just a distraction that renders us unable to come together and solve them for real. Hoas. Cold French fries. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you are on, cold fries are nasty and a crime. What is something that blew your mind once you realized it? They were colonizing the Wild West the same time as they were building skyscrapers in Manhattan. I always think of them taking place 80 to 100 years apart. It's wild. One day I sat on a tram, passing a river. There was a duck in a tree. I realized I've never seen ducks in trees. No one else seemed to notice, but I was puzzled. Now whenever I come across something that seems intuitive but I have never considered, I call it a duck in a tree. That you could legitimately travel at warp speed through the center of galaxies and never run any real risk of hitting a star. That's how spread out space really is. Americans, what is the most European thing? The sirens that go bee boo bee boo bee boo bee boo. 900-year-old universities. Driving through for countries to go on vacation. Not using your passport. No visa and use the same currency everywhere ... Plus using your cell phone all the way with no extra cost. Men wearing Speedos at the beach or in a pool. The ones you do see in the US are usually Europeans on vacation. What is a purchase under $50 you made that has totally changed your life for the better? A laptop stand and external keyboard, so much less back pain. Once I started using an electric toothbrush, I could never ever return to using a manual one. A rice cooker and electric kettle. I used to sometimes eat rice and drink tea. I now eat rice and drink tea all the time. 10-foot-long phone charger cord. A pillow. I've reached the age where sleeping wrong or even certain yawns make me feel incapacitated. A better pillow than the cheap one sold at Walmart has made a big difference. Weighted blanket and or a good pillow. Your sleep quality will improve. Being well-rested has to be one of the few good things to happen to me in 2020. What movie did the strong female trope write? Alien. The Silence of the Lambs. Terminator 2. Fargo. The Long Kiss Goodnight 1996 with Geena Davis was great and doesn't seem to get much love. Emily Blunt in Edge of Tomorrow. Fried green tomatoes gives you a selection of them. Lilo Stitch, 93. Mulan 1998. My Cousin Vinny. Mulan, the Disney animated one. Rachel Weisz playing Evie in The Mummy. Take that, Bembridge Scholars. Rival. Legally Blonde. Winter's Bone. If we're counting female characters who are strong in the sense that they take responsibility under adversity and not just a woman who acts like a macho dude and can beat up men. If it came out that we were 100 living in a simulation, what would be the biggest indicator looking back? Our Sims can play The Sims. That it never fails that once you start to get a little bit ahead in life, your car's check engine light comes on. I can sometimes think of a movie or a song, and that bitch either shows up in some form on my suggestions or my actual television. How arbitrary the speed of light limit is. It's just the read-write speed limit of the hard drive we are living in. Who's controlling me and why did you make me so awkward? The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, lazy coding like GTA. You see a car for the first time and the next day you see it everywhere. Why were you ashamed of yourself like never before? When I was 19, I fell for one of those fake check scams. My mom had to help me pay the bank $2,500. I've since paid her back, but I was so ashamed of myself. I had never broken down and sobbed so hard in front of someone. Back in elementary school, my class, including me, I won't play victim here, made fun of the nice teacher so much that he started crying. I've never felt so ashamed of myself until that moment. I still feel like shit up to this day. I've never seen him again after elementary school, so I never had the chance to say sorry. Are you cheering for an urban collapse? Why or why not? I just want multifamily housing to be legalized in my area, man. Yes, definitely, absolutely. Urban plays a role in the housing crisis that many cities suffer from. Yes, it's helping to destroy the housing market in many countries and, frankly, it doesn't seem to offer any advantages over traditional hotels anymore. Yes, it sucks for the original and genuine urban people who maybe let people stay with them in there Own house for a few nights to make a bit of extra money. But if people are literally buying houses just to use them as urban houses for profit, that's taking housing away from people who genuinely need them for living in. That's what I find despicable. What is abusive, but not widely recognized as abuse? Using therapy speak to try and demonize anyone who inconveniences you as an abuser. Using good intentions as leverage to control people and demonize them when they ultimately choose another route. Encouraging someone when they are having destructive behaviors. Putting the pressure of huge expectations on a child and then telling everyone that all of these dreams are the child's dreams even though they're obviously yours. Withholding life skills from your offspring to keep them insecure and dependent. Edit. If this resonates with you, there's an excellent support subheader as strange adulteds. Parents that are super controlling and won't let their children make age-appropriate decisions. The last thing you Googled is what kills you. So, how do you die? The weather today. I died trying to find out how to spell rhubarb. Oppenheimer. And I'm taking half of my state with me. A liquor store in my town, very nice. Bob Newhart. Not sure how he'd kill me, but if I died laughing, I guess that's a fine way to go. Why does my anus sting? Can you cook fish in a dishwasher? So I guess, not thoroughly. How much is Disney Plus costs? It turns out too much. Paper cuts, I guess, gruesome. How to introduce dogs to kittens. How to give a cat a pill. I mean, she definitely tried to kill me, didn't work. But if I have to force feed her some more medication, one of us may yet end up dead. Who is the most dangerous human alive right now? My mom has totaled around 5 cars. She's a terrible driver, shouldn't even be on the road. If she's driving, I'll say I'll take my car and meet you there. Probably somebody that nobody's ever heard of. My dad eats mushrooms from his backyard and hoses out his toaster and hangs it by the cord on the washing line to dry. Ronnie Pickering. My ass in these jeans. My 2-year-old wielding his plastic saxophone. Ing with the common answer here of she. But I would be interested to see who the common answer would be if you asked this question on a predominantly Asian platform opposed to a predominantly US one. She, if he decides to take Taiwan, the world will never be the same again. What makes you feel old as shit? Listening to Nirvana today is the same as listening to the Beatles in the 90s. I was talking with the daughter of a friend. She's 15. She told me Harry Potter is an old people thing. I wasn't even born yet. People who were born when I started college are starting college. I'm in my 30s doing an apprenticeship for a new career. And there's a kid in my class who was born the year before I graduated high school. The fact that we're closer to 2050 than we are to 1995. I tried to pull something remotely similar to an all-nighter recently and got about 3 hours of sleep. I want to die. The 90s wasn't actually 10 years ago. People romanticizing the 90s aesthetic. What is your favorite quote? We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. One moment of patience in a moment of anger can save 1,000 moments of regret. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Arthur Ashe. So I did. There is considerable overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest. Tourists. Yellowstone Park Ranger. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Never attribute to malice what can be explained by stupidity. A society grows great when old men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. It's okay to go through awful places, just don't stop and unpack. What is the first thing you always do when you come home? Usually take a big sigh of relief that I'm back home again. Put my keys in the key bowl in the entrance so I don't lose my mind trying to find them. Edit BC. So many mentioned hacking the fob. We live in a locked apartment building. We park our car in a locked underground parking lot across the street. So it would be quite a feat for someone to try and steal our car. Too much trouble for any car thief. I think we are safe, don't worry lol. Put keys where keys live. Change into my comfy clothes. Edit, I have never felt such solidarity with so many people until reading through these comments. CMFY clothes gang. Take off my shoes. Open the refrigerator to save checkpoint. Russians of Reddit. What do you think of Wagner's rebellion? Are you here? To be fair, I'm too tired to think literally anything of it. It all went downhill long time ago and I can't bring myself to hope things would get better. I just want to live to see the moment when it's all over. I hope I'll get to see that day. Just seeing the question made me think of the Simpsons gag where Lisa gets a letter from her pen pal. Dear Lisa, as I write this, I am very sad. Our president has been overthrown and replaced by the benevolent General Krull. All hail Krull and his glorious new regime, sincerely. Little girl. What screams poorly educated? When you're in an argument and the person you are arguing with thinks they are winning because they keep interrupting you and won't let you talk, drives me up a wall. Using buzzwords without knowing what they mean, especially when you ask them to clarify what they are talking about, and they continue regurgitating the same buzzwords. Reading a headline and thinking you now know the whole story. If this post gets to 100,000 shares, big corporation will donate a kidney to this brave little girl in desperate need. Actually commenting and sharing a FB post to win a custom RV because the last person they tried to give the prize to was underage, so couldn't accept ... or anything of that ilk. Which event from history will always be funny? The con man who sold the Eiffel Tower twice and got away with it. Andrew Jackson taught a parrot how to swear and it had to be removed from his funeral because it upset the attendees. When Persian King Xerxes punished the sea for ruining his bridge, he tried to build a bridge across the Dardanelles to get to Greece faster, but storm destroyed the bridge. Infuriated with the sea, Xerxes ordered his soldiers to punish it by whipping it with chains 300 times and poking it with red-hot irons. Handcuffs were also tossed into the water to symbolize the sea's submission to his authority. The loudest voice in the room is usually the dumbest. What an example of this you have seen. Ever been to a family dinner? I work loss prevention. I arrested a guy once who, when he was searched by police and had his meth taken, shouted, "Give me back my crystal meth," at the top of his lungs, so probably that. Or, along similar lines, he who laughs last laughs best. But he may get a reputation for being a little slow on the uptick. Finding out everyone on the internet is suddenly an expert in the operation, design, and recovery of deep submergence vehicles has certainly been an eye-opener. You know the weirdos that show up at town hall meetings, those voices. Edit, thank you for the love. You get pushed into 2030 for 10 minutes and you get one Google search. What are you looking for? Vegas lottery winners 2023 and the numbers for the drawing just before them. 2024 March Madness bracket. Warren Buffett has a standing $1 billion offer to whoever gets a perfect bracket. Am I pregnant? Reddit, you go back in time to 2023. What would you do? Lottery numbers 2023. The history of the 2020s. Has George R. Martin finished the series? 10 minutes for one Google search. I will search why the internet is so slow. The winners of the next 7 Super Bowls and Baseball World Series. Gonna go Biff Tannen. How do I use the shells? What is the worst case of main character syndrome you've ever encountered? Local celebrities are pretty bad. Their spouses and families are even worse. The only time I've heard "Do you know who I am?" in the wild was when the wife of the local weatherman was arguing with a clerk at the grocery store. My Mill and Sil, who cried and howled during our wedding ceremony acting like it was a funeral. It was weird when the Salt By guy inserted himself into the World Cup celebration immediately after the game. What is a phrase someone says that is an instant red flag? Do you know who I am? Trust me, I am not like the others. Get in my submersible. It's safe. We are like a family here. I can't be near elementary schools within 500-meter area. I'm an alpha. No TF, you're not. What is the most successful lie in the history? During WW to the British put fake documents on a corpse and dropped the body in the waters to be Found by the Axis, it detailed an attack that never happened. Here's the best part. The plans for D-Day were found in a similar manner, the actual plans, but they were ignored because the Nazi leaders thought it was just another ruse. Ewan's was when Great Britain convinced everyone during WWI that carrots were the reason why their vision was great, when it was really the recently discovered airborne interception radar technologies. I still know people that are convinced eating carrots as kids will ensure 20/20 vision for life. Parents who tried their best to raise their kids to be good humans, but they turned out to be jerks. What do you wish you did differently? Not me. But my parents have discussed what they wish they had done differently for my brother in order to prevent him from becoming a violent, homeless, drug-addicted snotball of a person. They wish they had sent him to therapy before problems ever started, and that they had reacted quicker and sent him sooner when they did. They wish they hadn't yelled so much at all of us, that they had been more patient and forgiving of our mistakes. They wish a lot. Generally speaking, if you tried to teach your kids something and not be the example, you might as well not have wasted your time. What would be your first impulse after winning the lottery? Food. I don't like making decisions on an empty stomach. I'd purchase my very own congressman. I promised the universe a goat farm, so a goat farm it shall be. My first impulse would be buying my own happiness by quitting a job that sucks the life out of me. Full body laser hair removal. Go find that Reddit post about what to do when you win the lotto. I'd get a burger and fries at Five Guys. Go out for lunch to the fanciest steakhouse in the area, and while eating lunch, delete my social media accounts and start researching lawyers. What did the Reddit blackouts actually accomplish? There's lots of porn on our interesting gasfic. Some lesser-known subs made it to the front page since the most popular were closed. It exposed me to a lot of smaller subreddits things. I've noticed some subs I follow have a stronger hatred towards their mods now, which may not bode well for them if the vote to kick them out ever comes to be. Ask our interesting gasfic. It became overtly apparent that some subs are toxic, so I 86 them. Many people who didn't know John Oliver now know him. Our NBE mods revealed themselves to be hypocrites of a high order, showing they truly are the nephews we made along the way. Mods accomplished exposing themselves as power-hungry nerds. What's something odd you find attractive? Nerdy and awkward men, if they're older and inexperienced, the better. Looking tired. When you sort by you get plenty of completely normal traits. It's like you didn't even read the question. A girl with a good sense of humor, how is that a weird thing to be attracted to? If she works in a bookstore, her attractiveness level triples. I can't explain it. Pointed canines. I'm a sucker for a good clavicle. Girl with messy hair. When my partner comes home all covered in dirt from work and looking exhausted, I just get all warm and fuzzy and want to fuzz over him, and then get down to business. Unfortunately, the looking exhausted is due to being exhausted. What's the worst possible reply to "I'm pregnant"? My sister told my parents she was pregnant. She had been married for a couple of years at this point. My dad said, "What did you go and do that for?" My mom started to cry and said, "Why are you trying to make me seem so old? Do yourself a favor and flush it out, Frank Reynolds." Someone asked me, "So you just decided to keep it and see if it works out? I thought you were just getting fat. Are you sure it's yours? Sounds like a you problem. You know I just got a vasectomy." How my coworker's boyfriend responded, "Oh, makes sense. You're a bit more of a cunt than usual lately." Good luck with that one. My wife is not gonna like this. Edit, thank you for my first award. I'll cherish it always. When someone says greedy company, what comes to your mind the most? Ticketmaster. Nestle. E-games. I haven't seen so much donation to empty the wallets of the buyers of their game products yet from any game development company. My mate Nathan, he's always ordering to Big Mac meals for himself when we go to McDonald's. He's greedy company. Rich as Amazon, which keeps making their customer service harder to get a hold of and returns more difficult, raises their rates a decent amount every year. They used to be a place to find good deals. Now they are just a place to find stuff that other stores do not have. Comcast. I still refuse to let them win that Xfinity rebrand in my life, lol. Activision. Which country do you think has the coolest name? Madagascar. Not a lot of four-syllable country names just roll off the tongue. No longer a country, but Zanzibar. Mozambique. St. Vincent and the Grenadines sounds like a brass band. Always thought it was a cool name, huh? Czechoslovakia when it was still a thing. Djibouti. Tanzania. Mexico. I always thought Estonia was a cool name. I had a 5th grade teacher who was Estonian and would tell us about it all the time. Sounds like a lovely place. Costa Rica. It sounds so cool. Tuvalu. Not every country sounds like what a Cockney says when he's off to the bathroom. Sri Lanka. Chad. Montenegro. Zimbabwe. What is a profession that you have limitless respect for? Janitors. Those people are unsung heroes. Opal who never gone through it before and panic all the time. And not asking a certain question or deciding the wrong having disastrous consequences doing this for a living. I'd fail after 5 minutes. Garbagemen women, lest we be buried in our own waste. As a nurse, the hospital housekeepers. It's a thankless, underpaid, miserable job, but so critical to patients' health and well-being. Anyone who investigates child sexual abuse of any kind. Paramedics. Special ed teachers, sewage workers, agriculture field workers. What is the profession you have absolutely no respect for? Real estate wholesales that spam call people hoping to find someone dumb enough to sell under market. I'm not sure if you'd consider it an actual profession, but those people who call the elderly as tech support and scam them out of their money. Anything dealing with MLM if you only reach out to friends and family to sell them things or get them to sell for you. You are not in a good space. Edit for all those asking. MLM stands for multi-level marketing, basically a pyramid scheme. Though I admit I love the moms losing money better. Ticket resellers for concerts, sporting events. Faith healers. Paparazzi. Televangelist. If the USA is so great, why did we create the USB? It was developed at USC. O.J. Simpson also went to USC. And look how his life turned out. Because the USA is too big to flip over 3 times before it plugs in. It's human nature to never be satisfied. We didn't even hate USC before moving on to USAA. Sailors will go to any port in a storm. Dad, is that you? What screams I'm insecure? When people are unable to admit that they don't know something. The one-upper. Constantly one-upping others in conversation. You know the type, right? You mention you went hiking over the weekend, and they've suddenly climbed Everest twice. It's like they're playing a never-ending game of top trumps with their life experiences. Insecurity level expert. Not being able to admit when you are wrong and making bullshit explanations, or changing the facts to make it sound like you were right all along. I'm too insecure to scream. Scrolling through this post to see if something you do is mentioned. Taking shit to personally and accusing people of acting against you when they're clearly just living their lives, not thinking about you. Asking for validation through social media sites. What are you starting to love more as you get older? Quiet, peace, and alone time. Sitting at home and not doing shit. Birds, flowers, my yard looking nice. Sitting on my deck with a beer, old people stuff. Quiet, clean house, flowers in the garden, time with friends. Not having plans, gardening, taking naps, cups of tea. People gifting me socks and other essentials. If it keeps me from making a trip to the store, it's an amazing gift. Myself finally. Quality food, grew up on Taco Bell, McDonald's, and all around crappy food. When my wife and I make some good food, it makes a huge difference in how I feel. Going for walks early in the morning. Comfortable footwear. What name is ruined for you? Angel. Some guy I used to work with robbed a business blind, causing them to close down. Never trust a guy named Angel. Karen. My friend Karen is not taking the comments well. Breaks my heart. Alexa. at least in terms of naming a child or pet thanks to the Alexa device. Lolita. Raleigh, she ruined my birthday. Harmony, I'm a teacher, and all the harmonies I've had were not at all harmonious. Oedipus, only takes one motherfucker to ruin a cool name. Adolf. Aaron thanks Keepeel. My name, Karen. Who's an idiot that gets treated like a genius? This guy I work with, suck it Jason. Easy one Dr. Phil. Marjorie Dale Armstrong, mastermind behind the pizza bombing. Documentaries keep painting her as some master manipulator, but then follow it by saying she can't keep any lie straight for any length of time. The moron tried to rob a bank for the exact amount of money she needed, without having any idea how much they actually kept on hand. Hint it was only like $3 of the $250,000. The idiot literally turned what would have been an $8,500 robbery into a murder charge. Chauncey Gardner. What is your secret that you can't tell anyone because it will probably ruin your life? I stopped working at work 1 year back. I have no idea what the fuck they want from me because I watch 12 hours of shows on my laptop and work for 30 minutes a day by attending a team huddle and staying on mute. What was the first big news event that you remember hearing or watching as a child? The death of Princess Diana. I didn't fully understand. I just knew it was upsetting adults. The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. Oklahoma City bombing. The Berlin Wall coming down. It was also the first time I heard the expression holy shit uttered. The O.J. Simpson chase in the white Bronco. Black kids being allowed to join our school. I was in 5th grade and grew up in apartheid South Africa. Crazy stuff to happen in our lifetime. I'm only 42. The Tylenol murders. Such a bizarre thing. O.J. and Bonergate, or whatever they called Clinton's thing. 3 human heads found in refrigerator headline on the afternoon paper when Dahmer was caught. Wedding photographers of Reddit. What was your they're not gonna last long moment? When the groom looked at her like she was the love of his life, and she treated the day like her prom and ignored him, I think they lasted 6 months. When I worked as a wedding planner for a hotel chain, the groom had found out his bride was having an affair with her brother's best mate. The bride's mother knew about it, but insisted on the wedding and paid a fortune. The groom wasn't drinking much and at the speeches, stood up and revealed he knew and said he was getting an annulment. He then took his best man on his honeymoon, the honeymoon the bride's parents had paid for. 34% of adults sleep with a stuffed animal or other sentimental object. Are you one of these people? What do you sleep with? Yep, the stuffed rabbit I've had since birth. Sometimes when I take a nap and my wife doesn't, I'll take her pillow to sleep with because I like the smell. It smells like baby powder, vanilla and her. I sleep with a body pillow plain cover. Doctor recommended it a few years ago to help with my lower back pain and it really does help. I sleep in a big bed with my wife. 29 here. Still sleep with my baby blankie. What's one thing you would never pay the cheaper option for? Work boots. I spend 50 hours a week in muddy, uneven terrain and must have dry, comfortable feet. Trash bags. Once you have one rip on you, you'll never want to cheap out again. Safety equipment. Desk chair. Got a good ergonomic breathable one? It's an absolute game changer. Is that try to be massive director chairs with all that padding that ends up flattening after a year are not worth it. And as it degrades progressively, you don't really notice until you get a good one. Work boots, shoes. What is your never interrupt an enemy while they are making a mistake moment? I let the lady who changed lanes into me run her mouth about how I rear-ended her before pulling the cop aside to show him my dashcam footage. Guy stole a presentation from me. This is 25 years ago. We hated each other. When he started presenting, I realized I had made a huge error. Didn't say anything. Let him get through it. Asked him about the error. He couldn't answer. This was in front of Q. Got fired, not for just that. He was an overall douche. This was before everyone was on PCS. Had one printer in one room. When a coworker who I hated got fired a few weeks after I decided to stop fixing his mistakes even if it impacted a client. What tastes better a little burnt? Barbecued corn on the cob. asparagus, Brussels sprouts, and zucchini are all great seared in a hot pan with a little olive oil and a bit of a lid-covered steam finish. Brussels sprouts are fucking out of this world with a little crisp on it. Hot dog, BBQ, Polska kielbasa, English muffins, they gotta have that tinge of char along the edges. Cheese, marshmallows, a nice grilled cheese. Paella, the crispy burnt part on the bottom, is the best. Pizza and toast, Joe. Mushrooms, the edges of a lasagne. Sugar, meat, like burnt ends of a brisket are the best things ever. Not burnt, but I like when my fries are brown dark. Who can be compared with Hitler in history, according to you? Heinrich Himmler was much worse. Who could be worse than Hitler? This guy. He pretty much orchestrated the Holocaust. Hitler was the face of the Nazis, but Himmler was the guy who made them. He's pure evil. Pol Pot, Joseph Mengele. I've seen people list a lot of the common ones: Stalin, Mao, etc. But one to add to the list in Leopold II. His atrocities in Africa likely resulted in the deaths of over 10 million people. Emperor Hirohito knowingly committed a lot of the atrocities of the Japanese Empire during World War II and signed off on all the awful shit Unit 731 was doing at the time. Would you, the members of this sub, support this sub going dark to protest the API ban? Why or why not? Our Screddit is the second biggest sub only after an official one, so going dark will most likely have an impact. If the main subs don't, the protest is probably DOA. A protest that isn't inconvenient isn't a protest. We absolutely should, for the blind people who need it, if not for all the other very good reasons. Yes, of course. I don't use any third-party apps, but fully support this. Reddit's main product is us, the users, and they are showing how much disdain and disregard they have for their users with this era-ending and poorly planned cash grab. Yeah, fuck 'em. Yes, let's go dark. Servers at restaurants. What's the strangest thing someone's asked for? We had a woman send a grilled chicken salad back because it was cold. So we cooked some new chicken and made sure to send it back while still warm. She sent it back again. The entire salad wasn't hot enough for her. We microwaved her salad. She ate it. I don't know, man. Honestly, I'd say the weirdest thing was that while I was a server at a restaurant in the Royal Hawaiian, a guest asked me to book a shark adventure tour. It had nothing to do with my job or even the hotel. Those tours were entirely separate businesses. I took his black card, went to guest services, picked up a pamphlet, and booked the tour. He tipped me $250, totally worth it. What is the absolute worst band name you can think of? Cherry Poppin' Daddies. An acquaintance of mine had a garage band. They called themselves the Homeless Abortions. The name implied something way more pleasant than they actually sounded like. Who Bastink? There's a band named Rectal Smegma that brings up some unfortunate mental images. Real or made up? If real, I'd go with Butthole Surfers. If made up, I'd say Nazi baby birthday shirt. The Lone Rangers. There's 3 of you. You're not exactly lone. The Lone Rangers. That can't be right. Can you pluralize lone? It has to be anal cunt. I saw frothy discharge on a marquee once. Closed for repairs is another one that no one would put on a marquee. Came here looking for the shitty Beatles. Which movie got to highly praised but was honestly underwhelming? Shakespeare in Love, a fun, if mediocre, film. How the hell Saving Private Ryan lost Best Picture to it, I will never know. Bohemian Rhapsody. Bog standard Rise Fall Then redemption biopic that doesn't even work as a primer for the story of the band Freddie because they took so many liberties with the timeline of events. Any of the Disney live-action remakes, they're tired cash grabs with animation that, in my opinion, is distractingly bad. Personally, I did not like the live-action remake of Beauty and the Beast. It was very lacking for me, but it got amazing reviews everywhere. I don't understand why. Maybe I am wrong. What would you say to a person if they say, money can't buy happiness? Maybe not, but it can eliminate a lot of misery. Edit, I feel I need to expand on this. It's a lot harder to find happiness when you don't know how you're going to keep a roof over your head or don't know where your next meal is coming from. Poverty can't buy anything. If I'm going to be unhappy either way, I might as well be unhappy in a nice house. It sure can eliminate a source of unhappiness. Platitudes can't pay my bills. Poverty's not doing the trick. Might as well be unhappy with money. Give it here then. I guess I'll have to rent it. No, but it buys a lot of security. Who is sad on a jet ski? What is a quintessential American experience that every tourist should have? If you can, go to a national park or nature preserve. It doesn't need to be a big name one. Wherever you go, there will always be something unique about it, especially since each state has its own ecosystems. Visiting a national park, United States has a lot of things good and bad, but its abundance of breathtaking and well-taken care of national parks is probably one of its biggest strengths, next to its number of aircraft carriers off-course lol. Have a cheeseburger and fries in a 24-hour diner, ideally one that has a lot of chrome and looks unchanged since the 1950s. Check out any of the Smithsonian's in DC. Never argue with an idiot. They will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. What's your best real-life example of this? Anytime I've tried to explain marginal tax rates to an employee, I thought I had a no-lose argument going up against someone who believes in homeopathy. I left the discussion feeling like I lost somehow. The day before Biden's inauguration, a coworker told me the military would execute him live on stage and Trump would walk out to be named as president again. And I laughed and said there's literally no chance of it. He said, dude, what do you know? You work in a warehouse in nowhere. You don't know shit, ignoring that he's my coworker in the same warehouse. Social media debates. You won't convince someone they're wrong. You're screaming at a brick wall. What is the greatest fight scene of all time? You seem a decent fellow. I hate to kill you. You seem a decent fellow. I hate to die. Begin. Eastern Promises. Viggo Mortensen in the steam room. It was very violent and very realistic. The hallway fight scene in the original Oldboy. Rowdy Roddy Piper versus Keith David in that alley in They Live. Ipman versus 10 black belts. Off the top of my head, I really enjoyed the fight in Troy between Achilles and Hector. Heat Bank Robbery City Shootout, Matrix Lobby Shootout Roof Helicopter. Happy Gilmore v. Bob Barker. John Cusack and Benny the Jets fight in the school hallway in Grosse Pointe Blank. The Raid Redemption. What is a weird flex you are proud of? I once won gold at the Games Workshop Golden Demon painting competition in the 90s. Quit straight away and never entered again. Go out on top ... Edit since people have been asking. I can squeeze my butt cheeks so tight it cracks my tailbone like cracking your knuckles. My class was working on a short film together with professionals, and I was an editor. I got to work with the original editor of Lego Ninjago Season 1-3 on my class short film. I swam the gap between Sicily and mainland Italy, opening beer bottles with my belly button.